Got a packed show for y'all today. We have some training camp news, some training camp storylines on today's program, so stick around and enjoy today's show. Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and let's just get right into it because I know all of y'all have been asking me, Jeremy, what dates can we go check out the Texans during training camp? And I got them for you. There are 8 open practice dates for the Houston Texans this offseason that you can go see. So here are the first ones, starting with Thursday, July 18th, Tuesday, July 23rd, Wednesday, July 24th, Friday, July 26th, and then the other 4 dates that you can do it, Saturday, July 27th, Monday, July 29th, Sunday, August 11th, and Wednesday, August 21st. Those are all going to be open to the public. I know all of y'all have been asking me. Everybody's super pumped to finally see this team in action, see this team on the field, and these are going to be your very first opportunities to do so. Also, reminder, the Texans playing the very first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, really celebrating Andre Johnson being the first Texans player inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's going to be an amazing time, amazing game. So remember that. And as well, there is going to be a joint practice with the Los Angeles Rams. Joint practice is going to be on August 22nd. So those are all the training camp news and notes that you need to know. I know a lot of people have been asking me about those dates. So I'm going to maybe go down, check a couple of those training camp practices out. Maybe we can, do a little Texans meetup down in H-Town. I'd love to meet some of you guys, meet some of you awesome people who watch my show, and maybe drink a couple brews, talk a little Texans football. And as always, daily Texans videos for free all year long here on the channel. We are your one-stop shop for Texans news, rumors, analysis, and everything else you need around this squad. And I'm actually needing your help because so far in the month of June, the Texans Today channel, my channel here at Chat Sports, we are 8th in subscribers gained. We are behind the Cowboys by around, 28 subs. So I really need your help. If you haven't already, go down and hit that sub button. It's 100% free, and you get the best Texans coverage on YouTube. It helps me out. If I can prove to my bosses that Texans fans are here to stay, Texans fans are here to represent, possibly more live shows this year. So help me, help you. Go down and hit that sub button, and let's climb these rankings of the Chat Sports subs here in the month of June. Now, I just wanted to, talk about some of my main storylines heading into training camp, looking forward into training camp, and what I'm really going to be focusing on once these guys hit the practice field. Number one, obviously, it's around our guy, C.J. Stroud. Yeah, how is he going to be his sophomore year? A lot of people have been talking. A lot of, talking heads are upset with C.J. Stroud talking about his top 5 quarterback list, about, him with Micah Parsons traveling the world, doing a bunch of camps here and there. He recently held his camp for his namesake charity, and obviously it was a great event, great time. A lot of good quotes from not only C.J. Stroud, but his mom, who's very active on social media, on Twitter. She's an amazing woman. From everything that I've heard from everything that I've heard her say, she raised such an amazing young man, a great leader, and it really started with her and her guidance and leadership. And I just can't wait to see how C.J. Stroud attacks this season, because he's not somebody who, last year he had a stellar rookie campaign. He wasn't satisfied with that. He said, you know what, I want to go out and get better. I heard him say this offseason, there was a couple throws where they should have been picks from last year, and I need to learn from those and get better, even though they weren't interceptions. So I'm really, really excited to see the evolution of C.J. Stroud. A lot of people talking about a sophomore slump. A lot of people saying, defenses are going to be honed in on him. Will he be able to handle the pressure? His jersey is top 10 in sales going into 2024. Is he going to be able to maintain the hype? Is he going to live up to the hype? I think he's going to do that and even more this season. I'm saying it's a lock that C.J. Stroud is going to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL in 2024. What say you, though? If you agree with me, go down there and spam those 7s for our boy C.J. Stroud. If not, all good, all good. This is a place of discourse. All I ask, if you don't think that C.J. Stroud is going to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL next year, go down there and tell me why. I'm really really interested to see what some people have to say. I might be a little biased. I might have my Texans goggles on, but I want to hear from you folks at home. If you agree, spam those 7s. If you don't, let me know. We'll have a little discourse down in the comment section. Storyline number 2 for our Houston Texans, the health and status of some of the Texans players going into and during training camp. Knock on wood, everybody. Knock on wood if you're with me, because we really don't want to see any injuries. It happens every year in the NFL. I mean, the Texans hit the injury bug before the season started last year with their offensive line. And the biggest injuries I'm looking at whenever we're heading into training camp are these. Tytus Howard, who had a knee injury that ended his season last year. Noah Brown dealing with that back issue. Laremy Tunsil, which this maybe not as concerning with Laremy Tunsil, had a little bit of, knee work done. MJ Stewart, the safety, he missed some training camp. And then obviously Dylan Horton coming back. He, fought Hodgkin's lymphoma last year, is now in remission. An amazing storyline for this young kid and for this Houston Texans team. I am so pumped and so excited to see how Dylan Horton plays a very integral part to that TCU college football playoff run a couple years back. I want to see, can he produce for this Houston Texans team, maybe be a rotational edge rusher for this squad. I'm going to be looking at these guys and their injuries, and hopefully no injuries that are gained throughout training camp. Storyline number 3 for me is all around the OC, Bobby Slowik. How will he utilize the new additions to this offense in 2024? Most namely, Stefon Diggs and Joe Mixon. How are these guys going to be implemented in the offense? Bobby Slowik has talked multiple times during press conferences about, adding stuff to the playbook this year, going back into the lab himself, looking at stuff that, his predecessors, Kyle Shanahan, that Sean McVay style offense, and seeing what he can do with that. I think we're going to see a lot more 11 personnel out of the Houston Texans this season. 11 personnel, that means there will be 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. And I think we're going to see a lot of these 3 guys on the field, Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. And along with that, I really think this Texans offense is going to really spread the ball out a lot. I don't think, they're always saying, like, who's going to be wide receiver 1? CJ Stroud said it himself. He believes there's 5 wide receiver 1s on this team. Now, I don't necessarily agree with him on that, but I think there are 5 really good receiving threats for him on any given play. Now, I answered this question maybe a week ago on our mailbag of who leads the Texans in receiving yards. My answer is Nico Collins. I still think that will be the case. I mean, the dude is an absolute menace on deep routes. I think Nico Collins is going to get the most yards out of this Texans receiving core this year. Now, catches and touchdowns, I don't know if that is going to be Nico, but I do think he'll be the leading receiver in yards. Do you agree with me? What's your prediction? Do you think it's going to be Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stefon Diggs, maybe John Mechie? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below. I'm still going with Nico Collins. Storyline number 4 for this Texans team. Which Texans rookies will earn a starting spot? We saw rookie minicamp, we saw OTAs, and then into minicamp, some of these Texans rookies getting a lot of run. Let's start with the obvious. Kamari Lassiter, I think he's more than earned that starting role as the opposite outside corner of Derek Stingley. He's really been impressing everybody within the organization from top to bottom. His, other players on the team are saying he is making plays left and right. DeMeco Ryans named him the Swarm Player of the Week. This Texans defensive coordinator, Matt Burke, he said Kamari Lassiter is a special player. So I think he's a lock, pun intended, to start for the Houston Texans this season. Now, the next pick that the Texans made, Blake Fisher in the second round, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. I think this one's a little bit more tricky whether or not he's going to start for this team. Going back to, storyline number 2, the health of Tytus Howard. Will that affect how Blake Fisher is used this season for the Houston Texans? That's going to be something I'm going to be looking at where they play Blake Fisher. I think he's a tackle exclusively, but maybe they kick him inside. Maybe they want to get him some run immediately, or they just keep him as that backup swing tackle for Laremy Tunsil and Tytus Howard. Going on to the next pick, Kalen Bullock, I think he has a great chance to possibly start for this Texans team, especially nickel dime packages. We talked about Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward both struggled last season, the 2 Texans starting safeties. Could they bring in Kalen Bullock to be a guy, a change of pace guy who's on the back end, who could really defend those deep routes? I think Kalen has a great chance to seize the opportunity and take a starting role on this Texans defense in 2024. And lastly, the last person who I don't think he'll beat out Dalton Schultz, but God forbid anything happens, I think Cade Stover could find his way into being tight end 2 and getting a lot of reps on this Texans offense. Depending on how Brevin Jordan plays this offseason, I think I could see Cade Stover getting a lot of run at the tight end spot this year. Obviously, C.J. Stroud's former teammate at Ohio State. I think these other rookies, I don't think they have a chance to start, really. Jamal Hill, maybe if you're counting special teams as a starting position, maybe same with Jawar Jordan if he gets a returning job, either the punt returner or kick returner. But on offense or defense, I don't think any of these guys have a chance to start, especially Solomon Byrd, Marcus Harris. I really don't believe that they'll really get a lot of run this season. Maybe be a rotational piece if they make the roster, but I don't think these 4 guys really have a chance to start for this Texans team this season. And now storyline number 5. Did the Texans upgrade their defense this offseason, or did they take a step back? A lot of notable changes around the defensive side of the football for the Houston Texans this offseason. They let a lot of guys walk, and they brought in some high-profile guys. First, the notable losses for this team. Blake Cashman, he's on his way to the Vikings. Jonathan Grenard went to the Vikings. Denzel Perryman, the starting linebacker last year, signed with the Chargers. Steven Nelson recently retired. And then Sheldon Rankins, the starting defensive tackle, signed with Cincinnati. And Malik Collins was traded to San Francisco. So a lot of turnover. That's 6 guys who started for your team last year who were no longer playing for the Houston Texans. And then they added a lot of guys in free agency. They added Danielle Hunter to kind of replace that Jonathan Grenard. They added Azeez Al-Shire to replace Cashman and Perryman as that starting linebacker. And then they added 2 defensive tackles to kind of supplement this DT room with Danico Autry and Foley Fudakasi. So will these additions really pan out for the Houston Texans, for Nick Caserio, for D'Amico Ryans, the moves that they made? Will these swaps really upgrade this defense, or will it hinder it? I thought Blake Cashman played really well last year, even though all the stuff going on with Steven Nelson and all the smack he's been talking about the Texans. He was pretty good for the Texans last year as well. Same with Jonathan Grenard, even though I do believe Danielle Hunter is an upgrade over Grenard. But will these moves pan out for the Houston Texans? That's something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on during training camp this season. As always, hit me up on Twitter if you want to continue the conversation, if you want to talk ball, if you want the dankest memes on the internet, you know where to find me, at Jeremy Chugs. And as always, I need your help. So I showed you the graphic earlier. We are 8th in subs in the month of June here at Chat Sports. I want to get into the top 5, and I need your help. So if you haven't already, go down and hit that sub button for daily Texans videos.